All right, Utah ends a crazy night against the New Orleans Pelicans. Keonte George, Oscar Tshiebwe, let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd postgame show. All right, guys, let's talk about this Jazz loss. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a win. This game got closer than I thought it should, and we'll talk about the reasons why. But these Pelicans teams, we've talked about it as we've watched the tank race go on. They are going to win some games because, like tonight, they played C.J. McCollum. They played Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy. They played Missy. They played their best players, and it shouldn't have been as close as it was. But they're going to win some games, especially when they play teams kind of in this bottom 10. This Pelicans team is better than you think. Look at that, 5-5 now in their last 10. We may be looking at the Utah Jazz just locking down that bottom 3, especially if they do things right as this season comes to a close. Not much else to really say about the Pelicans. Kelly Olynyk had a monster night for them. Thank you, Kelly Olynyk. No one ruins tanks for the teams he's on better than Kelly Olynyk. Ruined it for the Jazz, ruined it for the Raptors, and now he's ruining it for the New Orleans Pelicans. So thank you to Kelly Olynyk. Tank ruiner. Anyways, he was awesome. 26 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He was just phenomenal. 3 for 4 from 3. I mean, we've seen big-time games from Kelly Olynyk before, and it usually comes against teams like Utah who didn't have anyone playing besides, Keonte George and Isaiah Collier and Oscar Tshiebwe. But anyways, that's all I really got on the Pelicans. Zion Williamson got tired. It was a little interesting. I mean, at the end of the game, he took a 3 just randomly, and it was like, why aren't you driving to the basket? The game was not for sure at all for the Pelicans. Utah was up by like 6 at one point late in the fourth, 5 or 6, something like that. And it got hairy. If you were rooting for the Jazz to lose, things got pretty scary because Utah was playing well. Keonte George came on fire. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's just talk about it. But Zion Williamson, when he drives to the basket, there's no one quite like him right now in the league. It's just remarkable. You know what he's going to do. He does it, and you can't stop it. 61% from the field, 11 for 18, 24 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds. He's just awesome. And for this Pelicans team, I mean, they are going to be so interesting depending on what they get in the draft. If it's just a top 5, top 6 pick, whatever it ends up being, they are going to add a nice player to what is a really interesting core. And I don't know if they're ever going to trade Zion, if he demands a trade out of there, but they got to find a way to keep him and then build with a pick in the draft because all of a sudden they get pretty darn interesting next year. All right, let's talk about the Jazz. They rested a lot of players, everyone of importance, because this was an important loss. And you can see that in the tank rankings here. Utah, if they won this game, it would have probably put them at the 4. What would it that? That would have put them at the 4 spot. Well, it would have been basically tied with New Orleans. Now with the loss, it basically puts them up 2 games up on New Orleans, which gives them cushion that they absolutely need. Utah has to get a top draft pick because what we're seeing from this Jazz team is that there's 2 things. They're not quite good enough to play in the playoffs, but they have such good coaching that you can just tell if Utah gets a superstar into Will Hardy's offense and just in his schemes and on the team, Utah could. Will Hardy's proving to be just absolutely a star coach for this Utah Jazz team. And there's 2 things. You got to get a superstar on this team for him to coach. And Utah doesn't really have a star on their roster now to use, So you got to get a star. And the only way Utah's getting that is through the draft. That's the only way. The only way. Utah could go out there and make a big-time trade for someone. I've seen people online talk about someone like Devin Booker, but Utah would have to give so many things up to get that player, and if they don't have a superstar on the team already, it makes no sense. So this is the way. So we all need our fingers and toes crossed come lottery night. KJ Martin played again tonight. It's fun to watch him, and also newly signed Jaden Springer. Both of them bring some interesting things, but one of the things they both kind of bring is defensive presence, athleticism, and, KJ Martin was solid tonight, 25 minutes. He was just a -9 in a game that Utah was down by like 15 at one point. So it's nice to see him come on. He does some really nice things. He's just super athletic. He has big time toughness. There was that one play where Zion Williamson, who has to be everyone's least favorite player to defend, who I'm just guessing that Zion Williamson is like the strongest player in the NBA, and he's easily the most, or not as much these days, but so explosive, and he drives right into you. And there were times where KJ Martin stood up to that onslaught. It's pretty impressive stuff, like two titans kind of colliding with each other. So I really like what we see from KJ Martin. He brings like a toughness and an intensity and physicality along with athleticism and some pretty good skill. If he can kind of figure out the three-point shot, he goes 1 for 2 tonight, so that's a nice sign. Then you've got yourself something really interesting. And I think there is situations where you could play him as kind of a really small ball center in certain lineups. Some really interesting ideas to do with KJ Martin, but he brings a lot of things you want for a team trying to develop. And you can do worse than bringing on big time athletes with size like him and trying to see if you can get one of these guys like a Jaden Springer or KJ Martin to figure it out. And if they do, then you get yourself a really impactful player. So I'm excited to watch KJ Martin the rest of the season. I hope he's on the team next year as the Jazz kind of move along with this rebuild. Johnny Juzang, guys, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if Johnny Juzang is like a winning NBA player. He can shoot the ball, and he started this season shooting absolutely lights out. But then on nights like tonight where he's, and he's only a -3, so I guess maybe there is some more defensive impact than we think. But 1 for 7 from 3, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Not a lot to say. I mean, maybe he kind of figures some things out, and maybe there's some things that the Jazz see that I don't. But I just kind of feel like Utah has a lot of great shooting, and they need more athleticism and defense. And so unless Johnny Juzang becomes this really impactful defender, which who says that he can't, things are going to get, it's going to be tough to look at him as a long-term piece. By the way, I'm just noticing that Phoenix is now down on Minnesota. They were up to start the game. Let's hope that Phoenix can turn that around. Kyle Filipowski, he had a near triple-double tonight. You look at the numbers, though, -32 in this one. And I guess that's something to think about. It's something to watch. I feel like he's a better defender than maybe he gets credit for, and that might have just been that he was on with other starters that aren't very good defenders, and maybe, I don't know. But he did put up great, as far as offense, he does a lot of nice things. 12 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, a near triple-double from the center position. So Utah's probably giving him a chance to look, it gives Utah a chance to look at him as a center and what he can do. And what he can clearly do at the center spot is do some nice things on the offensive end. And the three-point shooting has really come around. He's over 37% from 3 now as a rookie at the center spot. So what a nice pick he's been. They get him in the second round. We'll just see. We'll see how he develops. And maybe he's better when he's with better defenders, and maybe this is a fluke, but something to just think about, something to watch, because that is quite the negative. It may not be his fault, and a lot of times plus minus doesn't mean anything, but it just, maybe that's a little bit of a side note that we should watch as we go forward. What does he look like as a defender? He did rebound the ball well, so that's nice to see, 11 rebounds. And there wasn't really another big on the floor with him, So him going up against Missy and Zion, and honestly, there were lineups tonight where it was Missy, Zion, and Olynyk, and that's a pretty tough ask for Filipowski, basically playing as the only big at times to guard those guys. So probably something that you just give him a pass when you're going against that much size. And Utah really designed this lineup tonight so that the Pelicans would score at a high level. So Filipowski probably, you don't really, and I'm changing my mind. Let's not worry about it too much. We'll just watch the defense as he develops and see, which is what you do with every player, right? Bryce Sensabaugh, it's such a roller coaster thing with him. He had some real moments tonight where he looks so good offensively, where he's doing little turnaround, free throw line, jump shots. Sorry, guys, it's late. Sorry. He hits the 3. Goes 3 for 9 from 3, which is not quite his percentages, but good enough. Nice offensive player. Look at that. 4 assists, 2, and only 1 turnover. So this was a nice night for Bryce Sensabaugh. It's against a bad Pelicans team, but you would hope that he would do this against a bad team. So I think Bryce Sensabaugh is just someone that you keep on the team. I'm sure Utah will just keep him and keep trying to develop him if he can impact defensively. And that's kind of the name of the game for this Jazz team as they move forward. Are you impacting the game defensively? Utah is number 30 in the league defensively. And if you're going to stay on the floor in the future, you've got to defend. KJ Martin is probably part of the reason that they signed him, other than they probably will have him as a possible trade asset in future trades. Same goes for someone like KJ Martin or Jaden Springer right here, KJ Martin up here. Possible trade assets, but other than that, if you keep them, you're fine because these guys have really great defensive potential. So you have to defend. You have to show defense if you're going to be a long-term piece for this Jazz team. That goes for every single player. You cannot win a championship with bad defense. It's just not going to happen. Because once you go into the playoffs, the defense ramps up. The teams you're going to play are going to be good. And you have to be able to get some stops. And, Utah needs players that can do that. Isaiah Collier, another solid night for him. 5 for 5 from the free throw line is a nice little sign. 7 assists, 11 points. It's just crazy how I just expect high assist numbers from him. 7 almost seems low to me. Isn't that crazy from what we started the season? Although that's in just 28 minutes. The name of the game for Collier is, aside from the defense that everyone needs to show, I actually think he shows up pretty well defensively, but it's something I got to watch closely with all these guys. We all do. But also just the shooting. But his shooting numbers have improved every single month since he's been in the NBA. And what's really impressive about the shooting is that it has gone up as he's gotten starter minutes. Now, he may have a lot of nights like tonight for the rest of the season. Utah is likely going to try to go for as good a pick as they can. And he may be on the floor with, players like Jaden Springer and KJ Martin and guys the Jazz give run for. Juzang, Sensabaugh. It's like last year with Luka Samanic and THT and guys like that. You're going to probably have a dip in numbers because you're not with the best players around you, but the fact that he'll still put up numbers is pretty impressive. And it is an opportunity for him to really try and work on his scoring. As this season ends, this is perfect opportunity for Jazz players to just work on their game. Try different things. Collier, take some pull-up threes. Take catch and shoot threes. Try some different moves in the lane that you can work on in the offseason, and just try moves that you wouldn't normally try, right? If you're not normally going to take a float near the basket, do it now. Try it. Figure out some of your shots. Do you want to take that little Chris Paul right elbow jumper? Try these different things. Try different moves. I'd love to see a little more snake dribble from Isaiah Collier. Getting into the lane, snake dribbling, try your floater. He's got such passing chops. He's such a gifted passer. And there's different ways he can even develop as a passer. Are you figuring out how to get to different spots on the floor to run the offense and getting more and more chemistry with different players? There's so many things they can improve on and work on, this Jazz team. And I'm excited to watch it. It's really fun. Isaiah Collier is just a lot of fun to watch. If you're not watching these games, you're missing out, because he does 1 or 2 passes a game, 1 or 2 plays that are just wow, just incredible stuff. So nice to see. All right, so Utah went down with the starters, but the Utah bench, led by Keonte George and Oscar Tshiebwe, was phenomenal. And you know what? Jaden Springer as well. Plus 11 for him. It's amazing what they did. And there was at one point in this game, the Jazz had no business being even close to the Pelicans, let alone be up by 5 or 6 late in the fourth quarter. But that is what happened. And that is, one, you've got to give credit always to the players, because it doesn't happen if the players don't execute, if they don't shoot, if they don't defend. So Keonte George, Jaden Springer, Oscar Tshiebwe, even Cody Williams hit a big-time corner 3 that made me so nervous. But you've also got to give it to the coaching. Somehow, some way, Will Hardy gets these players to play well. We were joking on the playback. By the way, you in either just me or usually someone from SLC Dunk, we watch it together. But the fact that we were just talking like, we see those Zaya active dancers at halftime. I swear you put them in Will Hardy's system and he will have them scoring at an efficient rate. It's crazy. At this point, you put a player on this Jazz team, they will figure out how to make them effective. I mean, honestly, Oscar Tshiebwe played 20 minutes tonight, had 16 points in 20 minutes and 13 rebounds in 20 minutes. Oscar Tshiebwe, and I know, let's talk about Keonte George too, but Oscar Tshiebwe averaged 17.1 rebounds per game in the G League, which is 4 rebounds per game more than the next player of the league leaders. Watching him, I was curious to see if he would do it, and oh my gosh, does that guy have Velcro on his hands? It's unbelievable. I hope we see more Oscar Tshiebwe as the season goes on. He impacted the game in a big-time way, along with Keonte George. So let's just talk Keonte. He started off a little rough. The shooting was not very good, and it's one of those where you're like, oh my gosh, he's having a bad game. And then he heated up in the second half. Holy smokes. He goes 5 for 11 from 3, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Also puts up 6 assists. This is something that's just... Keonte George is so talented offensively. Like, when there's like different types of basketball players, whether it's, guys that are really technical, really skilled. They figure out a way to play in a very technical, efficient way. And then there's like what you see online and big basketball guys talk about hoopers, whatever you want to call them, just guys that are just like got that incredible skill. They play basketball in a way that looks like jazz music. You know what I mean? Where it feels like you've got someone that's just incredibly talented. And when they're on the floor, they're just kind of freestyling, whether it's kind of some sort of band that just kind of is jamming, you know what I mean? Like an Eric Clapton or something like that just goes out and just kind of freestyles the guitar. That's how I look at Keonte George. He is a basketball freestyler, and he is a baller shot caller. I just don't know. He is like Jordan Clarkson if he was better or good, you know what I mean? Sorry. Don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, but he is so skilled. And when you look at what guys learn when they learn how to play basketball and the things you're hoping they learn, he just can do it all. It is crazy. You give me, if he is a guitar player, he knows every chord and he knows every strum and he knows multiple styles and he can go out and do anything. He can jam with a country band. He can jam with a rock band. He can jam with a folk band. He can jam with a punk band. He is just gifted. The thing with him is just the efficiency. And I tell you what, if he just figures it out just a little bit, tonight was an awesome night. 42% from the field, isn't the greatest, but that's solid enough. But shooting 45% from 3 and the level of difficulty he's shooting those threes with is insane. They are threes that if you can have a guy knocking those down in the playoffs, I mean, I'm telling you guys, I don't know if Keonte George is going to be the high-level defender. Never say never. I hope he does because, my goodness, the offensive upside is so crazy. But you will win playoff games with players like Keonte George coming in off the bench, playing 20 minutes, and just getting you some big-time shots. Like, let's say in the future, 2-3 years down the road, Utah hits with Cooper Flagg. They hit next year and get a top 3 pick, and you've got like Cam Boozer. And then you go out and get another free agent, or you trade for somebody or whatever. Keonte George, I could see winning the Jazz a playoff game because I can see him being as part of that 7 or 8 man playoff roster. And Utah brings him in early second quarter, late third quarter, and just lets him freestyle. And if he's efficiently scoring and doing some of these things, goes 3 for 4 from 3 in a playoff game, that wins you a playoff game. because playoff games are rock fights. They are battles. You have the best defense being played. And when you have a basketball freestyler, like a jazz musician like Keonte George, who makes beautiful music on the court sometimes, it's incredible. And it wins you basketball games. And so you guys, I tell you what, I hope that he just continues to develop, raises that level of efficiency, but his ability to score. I mean, he had a left-handed floater tonight and one. It was unbelievable. In fact, I want to watch it, guys. This is Kyrie Irving stuff. And I would argue that Kyrie Irving is that same type of like freestyle, just incredible basketball player. And we saw what Kyrie Irving did next to LeBron James in Cleveland. It was just incredible. I think it was this right here. Whoops. No. Let's see. It was this right here. Look at this. He goes right side, freestyling, goes left-handed layup, scores and one. I mean, can we just appreciate how difficult this is? He's freestyling off a pick here, snake dribble, crossover, left-handed floater over the center. That's not normal. That's not normal. I don't know what else to say. That is just so unique and so impressive. And so if you can have a guy like that, you absolutely are keeping Keonte George on this team for a long time, as long as you can. And he may get some big offers down the road, because I'm telling you, that's just special stuff. That's Kyrie Irving stuff. And, you know, Kyrie Irving won the Cavaliers a playoff game with some big shots. And you know what? If you go into a playoff game and Keonte George gets hot, he's the type of guy that maybe you keep on the floor and plays through the fourth quarter because he's just scoring. I'm a huge believer. I think it's very important you keep him on the team, keep him doing what he does, because what he does is special stuff. Jaden Springer played 17 minutes tonight and was really solid. And I think the thing that you probably are most impressed with is the defense, but he scored 7 points and had 3 assists. Utah just needs to continue adding athletes and guys they want to develop. This team is far from complete. And this whole process is about finding prospects that are going to be long-term pieces. It's why someone like Bryce Sensabaugh's got to defend. Because if Jaden Springer comes in and he defends at an elite level and is hitting shots with efficiency like this, 2 for 4, 1 for 2, I mean, it's not like crazy, but that's efficient stuff off the bench. With good defense, that's important. So nice to see. All right, let's talk. And Cody Williams, by the way, long athletic defender. That's crazy. Same numbers as Jaden Springer. They did basically the same thing. 2 for 4 and 1 for 1 and 1 for 2. With defense. Honestly, the defense for the second unit might be the story of this game, because you had Cody Williams, Oscar Tshiebwe, Jaden Springer. You probably had a lot of minutes there with KJ Martin. And then you have like Oscar Tshiebwe. I mean, there's a story there, and defense was the story, but then you had efficient scoring from Key in the second half that dang near won the game, just like I'm talking about. So, but anyways, let's talk Oscar Tshiebwe. We've mentioned it a little bit. Did the Jazz find something? Holy crap. He impacted the game. Capital impact. The font name is Impact. You say Impact in Impact font. You all caps the Impact, and you put it in all bold. Impact. Holy crap. What a weapon, guys. For him to be able to rebound the ball like this. I mean, rebounding wins games. I talked to my kid who plays AAU. I give him rewards for boxing out. I tell you what, maybe Oscar Tshiebwe's playing for rewards at home too. I don't know. If someone's giving him extra time on the switch like I give Gray, my son, I don't know. But holy smokes, Oscar Tshiebwe earned like an extra 3 hours on the switch with how hard he played tonight. Holy crap. On me, Oscar. More free switch time. Don't worry about doing... anyways. But he was incredible tonight. Incredible. Like I said, 17.1 rebounds per game in the G League, which is 4 more than the next best player. He had multiple 20-plus rebound games in the G League. He came onto this Jazz team, and you kind of wondered, would that translate? Kind of looks like it did, at least against this this Pelicans team, but when you consider that they had Kelly Olynyk, Zion Williamson, Missy, they had that other center, what's his name? Matkovic on the floor. And he's like out rebounding everybody. It's such a weapon. And it's the thing with like Walker Kessler, that if he can continue to be consistent with his rebounding, especially the offensive rebounding, incredible weapon. Because if you can just have a center on the floor that is rebounding at an elite level on the offensive end, that takes your offense to another level on the efficiency scale. If you're only getting one shot per possession, if you've got elite offensive players, that's probably fine. But if you don't, if you have elite offensive rebounding going on, that's just more shots. That's just more points scored. And that's how you get more efficient. And honestly, it's how you get more effective defensively, because the more you score, the more you're going into half-court defense on the other end and slowing them down and getting into your sets. It's so much harder to score in half-court sets. And so to have a rebounder like that, not only does it help obviously with the offensive rebounding, which how many did he have tonight? He had 4 offensive rebounds tonight, 9 defensive rebounds. But it's not a good defensive possession either if you don't rebound the ball. The defensive possession is not finished until your team rebounds the ball. And so to have that level of rebounding also helps your defense. Why? Because of how effective, like I said, the offensive rebounding is. If you are offensive rebounding at a high level, you're playing good offense. And if you're defensive rebounding on the defensive end, it's good defense. Maybe that sounds like really simple stuff, but it's a big deal. So if you've got a guy like Oscar Tshiebwe doing this, that's crazy. And what a weapon. Like, there may be games where you go against teams that just have high-level rebounding. What a weapon to have a player that you just have like a rebounding specialist. Like, call him in. It's the freaking Avengers. We've got our guy that scores points. Oh, we need points? Bring in Keonte George. He's like the Human Torch. Oh, we need rebounds? Bring in the Thing. Oscar Tshiebwe. He's going to come down and throw that rock body around, and he is going to get rebounds and punish you. And he's got or maybe he's Mr. Fantastic because his arms just reach out and he just gets the ball, or maybe he's like, what's the one, Toad on the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, who uses his tongue to grab the ball because he got like sticky hands. Maybe he's Toad. I don't know. But whatever he is, he rebounds the basketball at an elite level. And he's not super big. Like, he's like, what, 6'6"? What is he? 6'8". Okay, so, that's tall enough where things are interesting. But here's his G League stats. It's funny, they link him to the G League, not to the NBA. Anyways, 17.3 rebounds, 15.5 points, 2.7 assists. Also, is like the nicest, most genuinely kind, good person ever. If you haven't seen like the season opening interviews where they interviewed Tshiebwe, you are rooting for this guy because he's just seems like such a genuine, kind, good person. Tshiebwe equals Rodman. You know what I was afraid to make that little connection there, KG10, but that would be the best case scenario, right? I mean, Rodman was just not super big, and he wasn't super tall, wasn't super big, but man, was he just insane rebounder, just the best rebounder of all time, pound for pound, I guess. And you know what? There's some guys that are just talented at it, and Tshiebwe might be one. So it's just one game, but my gosh, in 20 minutes, I mean, you can almost just do the math. If there's a per 36, what is that? 20 rebounds at least? I mean, come on. That's crazy. Crazy stuff. So I was super impressed. It's super fun. I was scared, though, because he dang near won the game. Utah basically had to sit Tshiebwe to lose the game. He was impacting it to that level. So really interesting, really nice to see. And, if he plays good defense, I don't know. I mean, tonight was impressive stuff. If you didn't watch the game, go watch Oscar Tshiebwe. Go watch Keonte George. This was a fun one. Filipowski had some incredible passes, and some of the passes are not easy. High level of difficulty stuff. This team was fun to watch tonight, guys. This was a fun game. And it's funny that's a game where Walker Kessler didn't play. Lowry Markkanen, John Collins, all those guys didn't play. And the Jazz still almost won the game. It's crazy. So, anyways, I think that's all tonight. That was a fun one, guys. Just absolutely a blast. And scared me to death. Tomorrow, Utah plays again. They'll be playing against... it's a back end of back-to-back. I can't remember who they're playing. I think it's against the... I don't know. The season's going on, and I am just trying to keep up. But yes, Utah plays tomorrow, and they've really got to make sure that they lose that one as well, because Cooper Flag is there, and if you add Cooper Flag to this team, it changes everything forever. All right, like we said, Utah solidifies. Let's just reset just to make sure. But yes, Utah is solidifying this top three. It kind of happened last top tier set that really locks in their spot. Utah still has a shot at number one, but they are, let's see, about 4 games back. 15 wins, they have 11, and they've already played more than Utah. They've got, what is that? Well, no, actually, if I did the math, I bet we're right about there. Look, Utah is at 60 games played, only 22 games left. Can Utah make up, 4 games on the Wizards with 22 games left? If they lose to the Wizards, that would be pretty massive. We'll see. Washington added Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart, and they're playing them. That would be a choke if they gave up the number 1 spot. All right. If the lottery was today, guys, Utah sits in number 3. Last time we rolled, we got Cooper Flag, and I think it was 2 times in a row we've gotten Cooper Flag. Let's see what happens today. Utah drops this time to number 6 and likely ends up with someone like Trey Johnson. That's a bummer. But in really nice news, did Minnesota win tonight? They must have. Doggone it. Doggone it. The Phoenix Suns are pathetic. What a pitiful, awful team. Anyways, Utah gets to 17, and look at that. Yegor Demon at 17. And I might have taken him at 5 a month ago. Still not sure I wouldn't take him at 6, to be honest. So to get him at 17, are you serial? That makes me so happy, actually. I don't know. All right, well, let's give a shout out to the All-Stars tonight. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. I don't know if I need to wax poetic. Well, let's stop real quick. I just wanted to say, I love doing this channel. I'm going to keep doing this channel forever, guys, because I just love doing it. No matter what, we are going to talk the Jazz on this channel. I'm going to try to do more, but I'm going to just do this because I love doing it. I appreciate the support so much because it does help, but I don't make a ton of money on this venture. I do it because I love it, and that's why I'm going to keep doing it. I appreciate and love you guys for supporting me because it means a lot and it does help out. But this by no means makes me a significant amount of money at all. It really doesn't. I don't put in the effort like some of those single YouTube guys without families do. I have a family. I like to spend time with my wife and kids. So I don't quite do as much as I probably would like to. But I do continue to try. I do the post-game shows because I love it. I love you guys, and I love the Jazz, and we're going to do this forever. And, songbirds sing, beavers build dams, and the Hoops Nerd is going to make Utah Jazz videos. That's just how it goes. And it's not always about making tons of money. Sometimes you do something because you love doing it, and you love creating something and talking about something you enjoy. So, anyways, back to the show. Just wanted to say that because I felt like it was important. All right, let's give a shout out to the All-Stars. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, guys. I appreciate you immensely. Let's give a shout out to Christian House Money to Haas. Thanks for coming back, Christian. I appreciate you. Cam Bam, thank you, ma'am. Cam Chin 3. Ryan Edward Perry, the legend. He's been around since the beginning, Ryan Edward. Thank you so much, man. I Believe in Steve Jazz Exile. Baby Elliot Madsen. See ya, Alexa later. Jordan the Goat Besserell, Austin R. Grant Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, the OG, and Patrick Akubo, the Connoisseur. Guys, thank you so much for your support. If you're new here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and talk about the Jazz and the NBA with me. We may do more of NBA. I don't know. If I enjoy doing it, I'll do it. And if I don't, I won't. But one thing for sure, we're going to talk post-game shows on the Jazz and talk about other Jazz.